Okay, well, hello and welcome. It's another video. It's Enclave with my other host Afterglow here. Welcome to another FOE review. We would put parentheses, or if those are in the in crowd, implying symbol on these videos because Afterglow brought up a good point. We're not really shilling out this story. We're kind of shitting on it. So YouTube doesn't allow us to do that symbol though on the titles. I really wanted to do it, but it does not allow us to. Hence, I put the quotation marks on review. So, short chapter, chapter 4, and then we have chapter 5. So it's going to be one of those double whammy chapters. So sit down, relax, and get ready to sneed. Anything you want to say, Afterglow, before I start on the intro of chapter 4?
Double length Halloween special that definitely won't be late. You're welcome, boys.
You're welcome. Definitely won't be late for Halloween. Don't worry. Have a happy Halloween, anybody, everybody. Make sure you don't get shot out there, or eat some razor candy or whatever else happens during Halloween. I don't know. I haven't been out in so long. But
God, I
yeah,
want to be killed by a hot clown mare.
a hot mare. What kind of mare from
Clown
the?
mare.
Oh no. I bet you will want to be like curb stomped by a blackjack. Maybe you feel fulfilled after that, huh?
Not with those disgusting fingers she has.
Okay, well, go with the hooves before she loses. Well, we're not gonna talk about that, but yeah. Chapter 4 of Vanilla Fallout, right? We start right off with the what's it called? Wrapping it up from chapter 3. We're hitting chapter 4. A little Pip wakes up from, you know, the bunker place and stuff like that. And she climbs out of said place. Sorry, a little sleepy here,
Already
but
bored.
already bored. Yeah. So, chapter 4 perspective, it's another rather short chapter. Um, just to talk about chapter 3 real quick before we get on, we ended chapter 3 with her diving right into that bunker. It was the memorial for Big Macintosh. We'll find out why he has a memorial in a little bit, but obviously he died during the war. But again, we'll find out why in a little bit later down the road here. We go right into it, into a brand new location, no build up or anything. It's just right smack action, which can work for some stories, but I think for this chapter it didn't really work. So we start off with fighting some robots. Robots. We had some automated turrets and all that kind of good stuff. Enemies that, if you play the original Fallout, normally don't come to like mid to the end game. So very interesting for us to run into that. Perhaps KCAT was just going off of Fallout 3 as well as New Vegas, where you fight robots right away, depending on the path you take, of course. For those that are always like, oh, I want to go where I want to go, it's open world. Well, I mean, at the same time too, you're level 1 going against level 25 enemies, you're not gonna have a good time.
Look at this dude. He hasn't even got to New Vegas at level 1. Get out of there.
Oh yeah, I go straight down the middle as soon as I get out of Doc Mitchell's place, right into the Death Claws. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the creator of the game, the director, just directly said that you're it's a test to get good or take the long way around. On Iraqi told people I get good, and you're just bad.
I'm just bad at the game. I can't outrun the Death Claws, unfortunately, even with like any little chems that I find right off the bat. But yeah, we have this disturbing moment in the sense of the Robo Brains, which again normally are mid to end game enemies in the original games, and they're yelling things out at Little Pip. Disturbing in the sense of those possibly could have been, living ponies. We in the game, if you played the games, you know that they used human test subjects, and those humans were, in fact, still alive within the brains. It's just after 200 something years, you're gonna go a little schizo So sure enough, these robots are yelling at her. They're saying, "Yeah, we're gonna kill you for trespassing," calling her zebra scum, shooting her, with plasma weapons and flamethrowers and like all that kind of good stuff. So right
Speaking
on.
of,
Speaking of, yes, go ahead.
they mentioned the Ministry of Technology, which is the first ministry that gets mentioned. I don't know what to
True,
say about it because we know nothing about it yet.
true. And I quote: "A much deeper, authoritative voice boomed across the room. Surrender in the name of the Ministry of Technology, zebra scum." And then yeah, that's when she almost gets hit by a flamethrower. So that could have been really bad. Um, she uses grenades
Oh
against these
boy.
robots. So that was like, what the fuck? Because the spacing in this part right here is very weird. Like I don't know where they're fighting in. It turns from a big room then to a catwalk and stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want to use grenades on a catwalk because all it takes is like a couple of the support things to snap off, break off, or whatever, and you're falling to your death, 20, 30 feet. Um,
Yeah, those catwalks that haven't had any maintenance on them for 2 centuries.
exactly. So she's running around trying to like kill these things. Again, the writing is a little bit confusing in this part. I read over it once and then I was listening to it again, and it's like, oh yeah, we're in the catwalk now, and then it's like, okay, cool, we're fighting these robots, and then what is it, finally, like, she explains that, like, she has to get somewhere or else she's going to get blasted because there's no cover or this or that. And then we get a little bit of Little Pip's trademark, her just cursing a lot of like these weird expletives. And I quote, "Oh, fuck me with Celestia's forehooves." So, that's pretty cool that we get some colorful language from our little heroine over here. Heroine. I can never say these things right. My grammar sucks. Pronunciation's awful. Anyways, yeah. So that happens, and she basically blasts through these bots. The you know blows up one of the parts of the catwalk as she jumps into these like rooms, right? These One of these rooms, again, the way this is written, I don't know where she's exactly going because it's just
No,
focusing a
no, hold
lot on
on.
the action. Uh-huh.
I want to say she does not jump. She levitates herself, which
She
is not OP.
mm, you're
That
right.
she can do that, even if she does it for a short period of time. It's still definitely not OP.
Yeah, I that's an interesting thing, right? She can levitate herself for a short period of time. Um, she was never known for like magic and things like that. I would have thought that besides Twilight, like any other, you know, pony would learn how to like do teleportation, maybe just real quick. But I guess not.
Teleportation in the show, teleportation, at least in the beginning when this was written, was shown as like to be a really hard spell to do. That you had to be like a really good unicorn to be able to do. So guess what she can, but she can levitate herself for some reason.
Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of that lore wrong then. So yeah, she levitates herself, gets into the room, and while all this is going on, of course, the grenades she used and like all the fighting going on creates the catwalk. Sorry, not creates the catwalks, causes the catwalks. So finally causes the catwalks to fall apart, and due to that, all the Robo Brains and everything else start to like run away because who wants to get smashed by that? And she's in the office now. So we go from unknown location to catwalk to office room. um, didn't really like that. I wish the writing was a bit different on that. Would describe the rooms a little bit. Possibly could have, done a better job in the sense of like, oh, this is a smaller room. It's a lot dangerous dealing with the flamethrower in a smaller room because, you have nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. But it's like it's confusing because if it's a large room, yeah, flamethrower is still going to be pretty dangerous, but at least you can kind of like run away from it. Because I mean, depending on the flamethrower, of course, but I mean, the ones that I've seen depicted in movies, it doesn't like engulf the entire room. Rather, it like shoots, it shoots the fuel source a little bit, and then it shoots the fire, so like it sticks onto you. So I'm going a little too much on this. We go and find the office room. You want to talk about that? You want to talk about what she finds in there?
Finds vigilance. Oh wait, that's a good story. She
No.
finds Little Mac, and might I mention, in a regular ass glass case, not described to be like even locked or like bulletproof or like just regular glass case. And this building has been here for 200 years. So you're telling me not one single pony has been in this room for 200 years and just say, "Hey, free gun," and taking it. How does that work?
Hmm. I
And
mean,
then
the
I
robots,
don't
man.
understand.
But it's
Yeah,
still the
but like,
robots.
is there robots? Really? She didn't mention seeing any bodies or anything on her way over there. But
Mhm.
could just be lazy, not describing anything.
Mhm. Mhm. It could be. I mean, it honestly it could be. Um, what was it? You have a point there. We find a very good weapon just there in a safe. We find a invisibility spell, of course, for one charge, and then the what is it? The recording, I believe. The recording that
Yeah, so
was.
the
Mhm.
continuing the streak of Little Pip finding things about the main six by pure happenstance and not purely contrivance.
Yes. And I think this is my favorite part of when we do these like reviews is what would you done differently if you had the power to rewrite this story? And I personally, and I mentioned this before in a previous video, I forget which part it was, but I said like, hey, why don't we do this story in the sense of like things were told in bits and pieces and leaving it up to the interpretation of the reader to think about what happened in the past to, you know, cause these things to happen, right? Because of course, in the actual Fallout game, not everything's explained all the time. I mean, sure, you have some missions and quests where you find like a good, you know, portion of the story of what happened at these locations and this and that. But I think the best types of stories, you know, and this is just my opinion, often leave things up to interpretation, and it causes your story to last a bit longer because you're going to have people guessing what happened to this character or what happened to this location. Did this actually happen? It's just one of those things where I think it would just benefit the story more and more. But yeah, you see this part, you see like, oh, she finds what happens. Well, not what happens in this chapter, but just basically like, oh, we hear about Brayburn. I think this is the first and only time we hear about Brayburn, and as well as one of the first, but definitely not the last times we listen to a message done by Applejack. So there's also that. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we get out of this building? Because after that, we're gonna
Bunch of
talk
both.
to what happened.
Well, you were talking about how rewriting it, so I would not have the her find Little Mac. This is the first real gun she finds, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like the her strongest weapon in the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have her find like a shitty 9mm piece that's like on the verge of breaking or some shit. Because I don't know why she's like automatically getting a really good revolver with a scope and everything. She should be starting off with shit ass weapons like the game.
Hmm. No, and I think you're right too. I think you're right too. Like, probably give her something to use in the sense of something reliable, but nothing overpowered. Even in the real games that you play, I mean, you're lucky if you start off with a 10 millimeter pistol or a 9 millimeter pistol. Um, Even in the original games, I mean, you don't even find anything strong until the first game. You don't find anything strong until you go to the first vault. And that's technically the third/fourth level. You find a hunting rifle. But you're using pistols and shotguns for like the first couple hours of the game. So yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, bro. She bought the Lightbringer DLC pack, so
Oh
she
yeah.
starts with better guns.
There you go. So I mean, yeah, I think other people would agree with you on that part. Is just don't find anything, too OP for an early level because it's a revolver, right? It's basically like implied to be a .44 revolver.
Yeah, this is the hunting revolver in the base game's equivalent. And that's like end game weapons.
Yeah, so you could take you could take a bear down with one of those things, you know. It's just one of those things where it's just you don't really need
I would
that right away.
also I also want to mention that she backs out of a terminal so she doesn't get locked out, and that is not how it works in the game. So I will now make it my headcanon that she's save scumming, like everyone does with terminals. She's quick saving. It's not fair.
Yeah. Well, another thing that she does is that which is kind of funny because it happens to me sometimes when I play the game, is when she unlocks the terminal, it basically allows her to unlock the safe that all this stuff was in, and she could have like not used the bobby pins, so that's also something there. The elevator, of course, was just promptly there. It used that one and only battery, which was, again, just happened to be there.
If I
Uh,
recall correctly, I might have the wrong building because there's a bunch of shit. But I think that elevator is the one where someone dies in much later or earlier, technically.
hmm, not in this one at least.
Yeah, it won't matter for like 30 chapters, but that might be the same elevator. So maybe importantly.
Yeah. And then we go finally outside. We run into, you know, Watcher once again after little Pip mopes around just for a little bit about giving up on finding Velvet Remedy. So it's like that was kind of weird to just introduce the little moping about that because it's just like you're you're barely 4 chapters in and already you're regretting your decision here. So it's like that wasn't fun either. I don't know if you would regret your decision right away if you were in the game, but I think that was a little too quick, too soon. I could be nitpicking here though. But then we run into Watcher, and they have a little bit of uh what is it?
Virtue, virtue, virtue.
Yeah,
This
wait.
will be important later. Virtue.
Virtue, virtue, virtue. I could be wrong though. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. So yeah, we do have like basically she's just remembering stuff, looking at the signs, and she sees another ministry poster. We see another ministry poster, and it's the Ministry of Morale. So two ministries just dropped early on, and we're not even going to talk about them till like a lot later. So having symptoms of Chekhov's gun over here. Am I using that correctly? You're one of the more writer types.
I don't think you need to bring up the morals yet because like they don't matter at all for at least another good like 5, 10 chapters. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to blow your load that early, KK. But it is the Pinkie Pie poster, which is one of the most iconic images from this story. So at least we have that.
Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny how she has the Sparkle Cola because she used one of the coins she found in the safe, and she drinks it, and it's like, oh look, a little bit of a radiation, but that is what it is. Um, and she continues to like roam around this playground and stuff, and she sees environmental storytelling.
Ah,
Hell yeah.
dead children. Ah.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Yeah, after reading most of Product Horizon, this is like nothing to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we go into a playground, there's like dead children. Oh boy. And, she's making little comments here like, oh, this filly has 4 skates. Where's the fourth skate? Because there's only 3 hooves right there. So it's just, there's that. And then, there's a little, just, yeah, environmental storytelling things here and there. And then finally, yeah, Watcher, tells them about the virtues and stuff like that, just right away. Right away. kindness, honesty, laughter, like all that kind of stuff. And then they all have a conversation about like, yeah, you need to like carry on that hope. You got to carry on that hope. You gotta keep going, and this and that. And then we meet another character, a future antagonist, right? And it's
Oh god,
yeah,
arguably the main antagonist.
well, there's like 50 different ones in this story, so we won't know a little bit more about him until a lot later again. But
The setup chapter. That's all this chapter is.
yeah, it's just a lot of stuff. I mean, I like the way they describe this character through this right here. It says the voice wasn't metallic. It was the voice of a smooth male pony with a greasy charisma. I like it.
Charisma 10.
Yeah, charisma 10 plus, you got to use a little bit of oil there to like get that extra 2 3 points of charisma right there. So yeah, we talk about that. Once all that little exposition is said, you know, we meet we get to the what is it? Sorry, I'm like skipping around here. So we continue on. We go into a ravine of some kind, you know, and from there we fight some wild boar. So that was interesting. Of course, she blows him away with the revolver she has. Personally, I would be trying to conserve the ammo for a really strong weapon, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, it's her only gun at this point, so you know.
Oh, I mean, I could have sworn she still had the like really weak pistol, not the revolver, but she had like a pistol and someone's rifle too. I forgot. She killed one of the raiders that had a rifle in the library. I could be misremembering, but I thought she had other ones. But yeah, she kills some of the boars there. You know, she finds like a little uh camp that a pony must have used. It's one of those like supply caches you always find while you're playing the game. They find some what was it? You find some shotgun ammo, right? I think I remember some food and just things like that nature. Mentats, she finds mentats, so
She linked the
foreshadowing.
Mentos out the toilet.
Oh hell yeah! But like we're doing some foreshadowing here, so we're doing that, and
Also,
from
you got it wrong. They're called Mentos in this world, not Mentos.
oh yeah, mentals,
Better get the chem names right. I'll
men
get you every time.
Men-els. Well, it's spelled
Mentos.
Mint, and then there's like a little space right there, ALS. So what? Mint-els? Mint-els?
I think it's supposed to be Mentos.
Hmm.
I don't
Mintels.
know. Who cares?
Yeah. God, this is gonna be such a weird episode. Anyways, so we finally run into another important character because Little Pip is
You
roaming around.
automatically get shot up
Yeah,
to the best character
she gets.
for shooting Little Bit.
Oh hell yeah! Like I like it how she gets blasted, right? She gets fucking blasted from God knows where, and it's obviously extremely painful because it's like a rifle blasts her. She's like, "Oh fuck, I'm dying. Oh god, this is how it feels like to die." This and that, and then I hate this part. I hate this part here where it's like, so this is what it's like to die. So overrated. And then she has one of those like moments where it's like these anime moments of like, don't, you can't hurt them, or get away from the innocent type of bullshit. And I quote here, shoot me all you want, but if you attack that family, I will end you. And it's just like, oh my god, like this is
This is a bad one chapter.
God, this is such like an anime like protagonist moment. Like, oh. you can't hurt my brother, I'll kill you, some bullshit like that. And like, yeah, sure
If you
enough,
win, I'll sit on your face.
no, no, no. But yeah, like it's so stupid though. Like Calamity, we meet Calamity here, and he's like, "Oh, you're not attacking the caravan?" Like, I'm like, "Oh no!" It's like, basically he could have just died there because of a fucking misunderstanding there. But she's got to survive. She's just wearing the whole like raider armor, and then she's bleeding out, so she's just like, "Oh, bleh." She falls on the ground, and then of course the last thing we finally hear the guy's name is like, "Oh, Calamity, what have you done?" So, you know, level up, new perk, Egghead. You will add +2 skill points each time you gain a new experience level. So that was chapter 4, in a nutshell. Sorry if it seemed a little boring, right? But it just, oh man, like,
And
yeah,
now,
chapter 5.
time to, nope, time to introduce a new feature that I've decided to start.
Okay.
Incorrect anatomy counter. How many times in each chapter do they say the wrong thing when referring to ponies? There's two in this one. First time she says she gets back onto her feet.
Oh
And the
no.
second one is she calls the caravan of ponies a caravan of people, which, yes, I'm counting. Fuck you.
It's not anything that isn't gonna stop either, because I do recall later on when they finally go into Manhattan, I believe, and they're fighting an enemy there. I distinctly remember when they're fighting this enemy, they're like, "Oh, I got knocked off," you know, by their what was it? It was some type of weapon that knocks them to the ground, and then it's like, "Oh, but I had to get up, so I got back on my feet," and I'm just like, "Huh?" Like you had all
Yeah,
this
that happens.
time.
That starts in this chapter.
Yeah, I was like, you had all this
Like,
time to review. Like I thought all these things get reviewed and like changed up for grammar corrections and these little things, and it still slips through. So
the best advice I can give to any writer is have a proofreader.
yeah. All right then. Well, I talked a lot for chapter 4. It's time for you to talk for chapter 5. So go ahead. Talk about chapter 5. You're one of your favorite characters is finally introduced.
He's not really my favorite. That's Steel Blues, but he doesn't become forever. But anyway, he's only good because he shot Littletail. Now, chapter 5, Calamity. You got the whole chapter named after him. So she wakes up in the Ministry of Peace clinic because, of course, we have to mention another ministry already right off the bat. And then she is gay for the mayor's nurses. In case you forgot, she was in fact homosexual. And then Calamity's like, "Oh, sorry, I shot you, bro." And she's like, "Whatever, you suck." Nothing really happens in the clinic. It's just generic characters we'll never see again. I don't know if you have anything to say about this part.
I find it funny that we have to basically be reminded every other chapter that little Pip is she loves mares and she's gay. It's like, okay, cool. Like honestly, I don't care if a character is gay or whatever. I really don't. But I don't like it when it's like shoehorned either. And it's the same shit for like even straight characters where it's like, "Oh my god, like I really like big booty. I love big booty. I love plot." Like it's the same shit. It's annoying. Like granted, it isn't overwhelming just yet, but trust us, there's gonna be parts later on in the story where it's like, okay, we get it. She's a lesbian. We get it. Move on. So that's pretty much all I got. And you're right, just to introduce another ministry out of nowhere and not really have anything said about it, like not even just like a couple sentences of lore, always kind of pisses me off because it's just like, okay, yeah, we get it. Here's another ministry. This is probably going to be relevant in like, 5, 6, 7 chapters. So that's all I got for that part.
I would you go as far as just use the buzzword queer baiting?
Yeah, it's kind of lame, but I already said what I said about that.
Anyway, they're at New Appaloosa, which I guess is just Appaloosa, but better. And then we meet Derpy again at absolutely everything. Who remembers fucking Blackjack Little Pip for saving her like what 2, 3 chapters ago? I can't even remember. But we learned
Yeah.
she has no tongue. She has no tongue because Raiders cut it out. Which I mean, it's still funny that they're using a fandom character and doing all this horrible shit to her, like a fan favorite character.
Go on.
Uh, we get introduced to ghoul racism, which will be
Yes.
important later.
Yes. Racism. I love racism in my pony show. Even back then, there was racism. God. Okay, keep going.
Racism is like a central theme of the fanfic. What do you mean? Anyway, there's not that much that happens really in Appaloosa again. We meet the mayor for about 5 seconds. I don't remember if she directly talked to him.
Mm. Yeah, it's like one of the leaders, like loosely referencing Sheriff Sims from the Megaton. Yeah, Fallout 3. Fuck, it's been a while since I played it, so if I'm getting the name wrong, I'm sorry. But it's kind of like loosely referencing him. Uh, she gets armor, you know? Because Ditsy Dude's like, yeah, I'm gonna repay you for saving my life and saving the other mayor's lives. Horrible things happen to us, so I might as well give you some armor and some other supplies and things of that nature. And, of course, little Pip is grateful. She gets a new book because the one that she found in the library was missing pages. Um, we're also introduced in this chapter of the currency, so that's also important because in previous chapters she completely disregards the caps. I don't remember how much, but she probably would have had at least, I would say, like 100 to 200 caps by now if she didn't ignore them all. Um, and yeah, you know, they start to talk about Pegasi and Calamity is, obviously hiding something. Foreshadowing. It explains that he doesn't live in the clouds like the other Pegasi and stuff like that. He's like, oh yeah, I live in some shack. Some pony's shack. So of course that's not gonna have any importance either. But
She
yeah.
hasn't done his companion quest yet.
Say that again. You were.
Has, she hasn't done his companion quest yet.
Yeah. So it's just very, they're doing it right. They're doing it a little right. You don't want to say too much, right? You don't want to say too much about it. So good job on that part, because that would have been really like anticlimactic if it was just straight up like, yeah, my name's Calamity, and the reason why I don't live in the clouds is because of da 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 da. So,
Yeah, you mean a companion wouldn't open up to her right away after meeting day one? Actually, good writing.
oh man. So that happens, right? And they are given a quest. They are given a quest that they want to go ahead and what is it? I think
Oh
yeah,
yeah, shut the stable door.
yeah. Like they want to close the stable door because there's these little varmints out there that have a really painful sting. So I don't know if I'm getting this right, but this feels like a reference to the original Fallout, loosely referencing it. I'm not gonna give you KCAP points just yet, but in the original Fallout, the first quest you get from the first settlement you go to, which is Shady Sands, is that you gotta go kill them rat scorpions because them rat scorpions be stinging people and killing the Brahmin. So you gotta go kill them. And
Fallout 1 is a good game, and Fallout 2 is a terrible game.
Fallout 2 has really good music and good dialogue, but the mechanics is fucking weird at times. So I'll agree with you there on that part at least. So yeah, we get a quest. We got to go to stable right off the bat. You know that's interesting. Got to go close them doors. So we go and we're introduced to rain, and it goes kaboom, and the sky exploded and this and that, and we have a little cute moment where Little Pip hides underneath Calamity, and oh god, I hope that doesn't awaken anything in the fandom there.
So, in editor, put in the gif of Little Pip happy in the rain.
There we go. Look at her go. But yeah, we get introduced to the weather system, which is kind of good. I like that. We're getting some world building here. Calamity's like right off the bat saying like, yeah, the Pegasi aren't really in charge of the weather anymore. This is basically natural weather, like completely 100% natural. So if it rains, it rains. If it's hot, it's hot, and everything and anything that goes by. Um, there's a moment here where I don't think they really mention it like anywhere else, but there was this moment here. Yeah, there you go. This part this is after the lightning gets, it flashes, right? The lightning flashes, and Little Pip's for whatever reason like examining, the distance. Sorry, not the distance. Little Pip over here is like examining the horizon, and I quote right here. I also saw some pony, or I thought I did, in the far distance on the hilltop, briefly illuminated by the lightning. I couldn't tell if it was a unicorn or a Pegasus at first. I thought it was both, but the vision was gone before I could be sure I had seen anything at all. So,
Yes, I have it in my notes. We all
yeah.
know this is a fucking alicorn,
So,
which,
oh,
oh my
continue.
god,
Sorry, continue. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna have I'm gonna have a lot to say about Unity, but it's not gonna be important forever again.
Hmm. So, you don't think it's like weird that that just happens? Because again, going back to how I would do it, I wouldn't have hinted at this so early. Or possibly, if I were to rewrite this, I would have been like, huh, possibly a guardian of some kind, just continuously watching over little Pip, making her a little bit more of a Mary Sue. But hey, if a stable dweller leaves a stable and they're about to be talked about on the radio, or just, I don't know, somehow you have to write it in such a way where there it's noticed that there's a stable dweller, roaming around the wasteland, and possibly have, some type of guardian watching over them. It'd be a little interesting there, but uh, little God, I don't want to say too much because we're gonna spoil it for those that haven't gotten this far. So I'll just leave it there. But yes, continuously go. Um, it's raining. They keep talking about it. They finally go into stable 24, and it's raining a lot. Like, oh my god, like there's like water. It's like a waterfall going in there. So they gotta close the door. So now they're trapped in there. It's like every other horror
No, no,
movie. They're trapped in
no, no,
the
no.
stable. What?
They are specifically not trapped. Little Pip goes in there and stays in there out of pure curiosity. So
Hmm.
everything that happens after this is her fault.
Oh, well, yeah, yes. But they do close the door behind them because the water was rising. So they do close it behind them. Which, I mean, wouldn't that just mean the water just collects outside and then therefore like a pool outside? So even if you open it later on, the water is gonna like, you know, still go in there and possibly still like drown you because God knows how long that water is collecting.
It
Just,
also doesn't make sense that the stable's not already flooded because can't be the first time it's rained hard in 200 years. It would
yeah,
already be flooded way before she got there.
exactly. And I mean, there are vaults in New Vegas that are like flooded, especially with like that side quest with the boomers, I believe. Like the area where their armory was located was like flooded with water for whatever fucking reason. So, it's been done in the actual games beforehand. But yeah. we talk about the stable, of course. There's a little bit of lore there. Talking about the life there and stuff like that. And of course, we have a little bit of foreshadowing. They're doing some little experiments in the classroom, and one of the unicorn fillies freaks the fuck out, and because of that, a cat goes missing, a tarantula goes missing, and a snake goes missing. Is there any other animal that I'm forgetting? Because I'm,
Nope, this is really stupid and is not properly explained how this happened. It just kind of did.
yeah, maybe I'm forgetting one of the animals, but after that, yeah, we hear about that as they're exploring and stuff like that. And, little Pip is getting a little paranoid because, she does see hostiles on her Ice Force Sparkle. Of course, Calamity, he can't really tell because, he doesn't have a Pip Buck. And instead of like little Pip, constantly telling Calamity, hey, you know, there's possible hostiles, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or whatever, or just basically a general warning, like, hey, we're not alone down here. Instead she just like mentions it to herself, like, huh, like I really wish, Calamity had a pit buck, or else, at least he would know, enemies are nearby or hostiles are nearby or like whatever. So that always annoyed me because I'm pretty sure you've seen the movie Aliens, right? You've seen the movie Aliens, the second one with the Marines, the colonial Marines that are quote unquote bug hunting.
No, but I can guarantee Cake out has.
Ah,
Just how these
shit.
monsters work.
Okay. Well, for the ill-informed, please go see Aliens. It's actually a pretty decent movie. But there is a scanner that these Marines often carry, and not everyone has it because it is a very heavy tool. Usually have one or two per squad, and it tells you where there's motion and how far away they are. Now, is it going to tell you if it's above you or below you? No, but it does tell you, hey, there's a contact 20 meters, there's a contact 25 meters, and something like that. And they constantly, are informing their squad mates, like, we got hostiles here. So, if you have information, you probably would be telling your partner, especially when there's only two of you guys and it's a stable, it's really dark, it's really scary. So, things of that nature.
Wait, what the fuck?
What?
Aliens is a sci-fi movie, and you're telling me they have spaceships? They don't have the technology to make a scanner smaller and more portable. It's this
It
big bulky fucking thing.
it's this weird genre of science fiction that's called cassette um era, and
Cyberpunk.
basically sorta. I mean, it's a lot of the armor, weapons, and stuff are really clunky because I and I'm just going off a limb here. Most of this technology uses cassettes and stuff like that. So that's why it's a bit bulkier. Kind of like how in Fallout, the pit bucks are massive and the computers are huge because they're using vacuums rather than like, smaller technology and stuff like that. Am I? Yeah, so it's that genre and stuff like that. So I mean, it kind of just goes back and forth. Like you just want to tell your buddies, hey, there's probably monsters nearby. I don't know where, in the sense of like, is it above or below us, but just keep an eye out. So yeah, the stable isn't
I
as. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
are we ready to talk about the experiment for this stable pros? Oh boy, it's
Yes.
fucking stupid.
Yeah. No, I was
All
just
right,
about to go there, but if you want to take the fucking helm, by all means, go ahead, because I've been talking for a long time again.
all right. So I see a bunch of like posters or like
Yeah.
stallions and shit being like heroes, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then they find a book, and it's like a historical book, and it's like everything is the same, but it's rewritten so the princesses or princes and every historical figure is male. Do I need to point out the issue with this, or is it this obvious to everyone?
I
Because
think you might need to point it out for some people. Yes.
okay, so listen, the whole point of a stable is it brings in ponies before the bombs drop. So the first generation of ponies that go in there would know their own country's fucking history and know that they don't have princesses, they have princesses. So how the fuck did history ever get twisted for them? Because they went in there, they would know. Did they lie to their kids? Why? It doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's almost like the experiment should have happened maybe like 3 or 4 generations in, but even then, you're right. Like the first generation is gonna pass down the information to the second generation, and I think information about stuff going on, especially like historical things, kind of gets lost after the third generation, because there's that common thing of like, oh, that's just the old ways. We're not gonna really think about it that way. So it probably would have just been better if it was introduced in that way instead of you know, like you said, like automatically right then and there, like, oh, here's a history book, everything's rewritten, haha, and that's yeah. So everything's flipped in the stable. Little Pip is sexist, you know. It's pretty funny.
Babe.
Yeah, she.
Wow, this experiment is really stupid. What is stable tech made of fillies or something? Wouldn't that be ridiculous?
So it's like right off the bat, it's just like, oh, like over stallion, like she kind of has like a little fucking like autism moment. She's just going and screeching about it, and then Calamity's just like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, you're saying a stallion can't run a stable? You're telling me that? Like, so that was funny. And then of course, like I said, as they're going off and on, she finds conveniently, conveniently, a record of what was going on in the stable about this random repair pony trying to romance a mare with a filly,
All right,
and then the
you say
filly,
conveniently, but
huh? Good going.
you say convenient. You say conveniently, but don't. You can't tell me that every fucking vault in the actual game don't just give you lore drops in terminal
Well,
conveniently.
I don't like that part of the game either. I don't agree with it. Again, I like things being up to interpretation. I think if this was written in such a way where it's like you don't know what these enemies are until like the last second, it makes them even more dangerous and scary. But it leads up to it because it's like, oh, you know, there was an accident in the classroom and this filly, used her magic and these animals are gone. And I was already, but when the first time I ever listened to this, I was already like kind of thinking, I'm like, oh, they're probably all mixed together, and it doesn't take that much thinking for that. And then,
But
yeah,
also,
uh-huh.
I would also like to point out while she's reading this convenient place terminal, the monsters are above her, and they conveniently wait until she's done reading like three whole entries to actually attack. So that was nice of them.
Yeah, that was annoying because they just pop out. They just pop out. I'm just like, really? You're just gonna wait until she is ready to kill you? Okay. So that happens, and it's pretty gross because these little bastards they like to sting their prey, and then once you're paralyzed, they lay eggs in you, and then the monsters, creatures, hybrids, chimera thing.
Yeah, not Project Chimera. Don't get excited, Project Horizon fans.
Nope,
But
this is something totally different. And a
but
very
yeah,
unique and disgusting enemy disregarded completely early on in the chapter.
yeah, but they're basically discount Night Stalkers.
Yeah, basically. And like they'll implant the eggs in you, and that's basically what happens to the stable. And it's disgusting because there's a bunch of bodies, well, bodies, I mean, a bunch of skeletons that are grouped up, and obviously you know what happened. They paralyzed ponies. They laid the eggs in said ponies, and those living ponies that can fill everything because they can still fill it even though they're paralyzed. They were nests basically, and these little bastards crawled out of their chests, basically like chest bursters from aliens, and all hell broke loose.
Yeah, that's why I said K-Cat clearly watched Aliens.
Yeah, so it's pretty gross.
Just face huggers.
And this happens, and of course, Calamity gets stung by one of these monsters. Little Pip, even though this monster did jump on her, she doesn't get stung at all. So that could have been a writing tool right there. Creating a sense of urgency. That you have only so much time before you fall paralyzed, and then one of these creatures finds you, and plants their eggs in you, and all this disgusting things can happen. So Calamity gets infected. Well, poison, more like poison, not infected. And she has
He
to go
gets
help him.
M-fragged.
Basically. So there you go. You got your first sex scene right there. And Little Pip has to go ahead and find the cure. And of course, the cure is in the main air atrium, which is where most of these creatures are asleep. And again, she uses her eyes forward sparkle to not step on any of them because they're conveniently all asleep and none of them were awoken by all the chitter chatter as well as, the fighting that happened just like, 50, 40 feet away from them. So, that's just a
They're
thing.
not asleep.
Yeah, they
What are you
are.
talking about, Schizo? She uses her stealth bug. That's how she gets past them. They're awake. They're moving around.
I could be wrong, but I could have sworn she just goes around them using her eye forward sparkle.
Yeah, she does that when she's invisible, so because they can still feel her if she steps on them.
Ah, I see, I see, I see. Okay.
It's dark. That's why.
Mhm. So yeah, I mean it's
And the
it's
cure's in the Overstelline's office.
yep.
And we get an audio log there, which we don't hear for this chat.
Yep. And then she finds the dynamite. She places said dynamite all over the stable and gets Calamity, puts him in the box where the dynamite should be, and she keeps going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, putting the dynamite in multiple locations in the stable, and then eventually she blows up said stable, dragging Calamity out right before it explodes. I don't know how long the fuse was, but the stables are pretty big. I don't know how she got in and out within, you know, that short amount of time without getting her ass blown away. But that happens, and they blow up the stable, allowing for water to get in because, of course, the weakness of these creatures is water. They cannot swim. So,
Forget evolution. Forget like 100 years or so of evolution.
yeah. And
Them
then,
learning to swim by natural selection.
yeah, basically 200 plus years, or I don't, well, I wouldn't say 200 plus, probably a good 50, 100 years. No evolution whatsoever. They don't, not nothing. And then like not enough of them apparently were able to get out of the stable, but I think that's mentioned in the chapter right after, when they talk about it. Um, but yeah, Calamity gets saved. They find the antidote. They find the recipe for the antidote. And they find the recording, like you said. And after that, little Pip and Calamity talk about like, oh, this wouldn't have happened if you didn't get stung. Oh, this wouldn't have happened if, it's a little back and forth, which is kind of annoying. But story, it's just a little weird at the early on. I think it kind of gets okay and better towards the middle and end, but right now it's a little cringe. And I understand why people put it down after reading just a few chapters because it's kind of fast and then it gets slow. It's fast and it gets slow. Yeah, the pacing is just weird. But there we go. Uh, footnote leveled up. New perk. We have Gunslinger. While using a mouth held or levitated firearm, your chance to
Oh,
hit and stats increases by 25%. And then quest perk added. Mighty Telekinesis, level 1. You triple the mass that you can levitate with your unicorn magic. So, there we go. Chapter 4 and 5. What are your thoughts overall about it?
incorrect enemy counter for chapter 5. There's only one, but it's way more egregious. They refer to Derpy as having a four-paw. Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking furries.
Oh man, it was there all the time. They just go mask off.
That is horrible. How do you even do that? You got the first part right. All you had to put was hoof at the end. Not a fucking paw.
Yeah, I don't understand. It says right there, she back trotted and waved a forepaw about in what was a surprisingly effective combination of welcome and showing off of the store. And there's even a comment. This is all on fanfiction, of course. Um, there's even a comment about that. This person even notices that word, but they don't even say anything bad about it. They're just like, oh, we're just quoting and saying, like, there's really nothing that can stop Derpy from being adorable, not even having become a ghoul. So,
God, I hate zombies.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. I don't like the incorrect anatomy either, but hell, I mean I'll give a pass for a few of them, but we're gonna find out very, very soon that it's just not a few. It's a lot more.
That's why the counter started.
Yeah, I need to go and see if my book that apparently has been revised quite a few times before they released it, and see if this language is in there. Because if it's been corrected and edited, then I wouldn't mind it. But I mean, if it's in the original story, then there's a lot to be
Yeah, but there
desired.
wasn't K-Cat that revised it, so fuck them.
I thought they had another editor. I could have sworn that was a story.
Even fucking Somber had a fucking
Eh,
proofreader, and he's like an allegedly an
al-
English professor.
allegedly.
Stores? Didn't think so.
Didn't think so. Well, overall,
Yeah,
the both chapters were the pacing was weird. A lot of fighting scenes, a lot of action scenes. We meet the first companion relatively early. So again, I would appreciate it if we had a little bit more of a loneliness factor. Um, Shout out to one of our frequent listeners, right? We have a frequent listener to this series, and they mentioned that too. They mentioned that too. Um, let's see. His name is Wubway. He does the readings for Project Horizons. I still listen to those, so keep going because they really help me with the long fucking shifts at work. Um, but yes, they also talk about that.
talk about that guy that showed for P21 because I'll fight him.
Apparently, he listens to this in its entirety because he actually leaves quite lengthy comments. And yes, he mentions about the weapons and stuff like that. He says that even in Fallout 3 in New Vegas, he never really used weapons. So I mean, good on you. He really maxed out for melee combat. And yeah, he didn't really like the whole like handguns or not handguns, sorry, melt guns. He didn't really like about melt guns. But yes, thank you for writing your comments. I'm reading them, and I know you're mentioning stuff about Project Horizons, and we'll be like adding little bits and pieces of Project Horizons as well. So, of course, we really appreciate you leaving these comments and having some stuff for us to listen as well. I hope earlier on when we were talking about it, this isn't so much as a review. It's just more of like, we talk about the story. Of course, it's very dated, and what things we would have had done differently. So, that's just things to keep in mind. We're not totally completely shitting on the story or anything like that, but yes,
You're not.
I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can, but I mean, our discussions prior, I have already told you there was a lot of things that I never really liked at all in the entirety of the Fallout Equestria series, or rather different series. And it's always the mouth guns. It's always the for whatever reason, here's this lore dumps, and here's this, and here's that. I never liked that. It doesn't matter who's writing what because it's always there. It's always present, and it's even in the games too. But that's just probably me. Um. So yes. I like that, and thank you for the song, for Blackjack's song. Probably play that out for the outro here. And then anything else you want to say about chapter 4 and 5 before we wrap it up?
Uh, Little Pip needs lesbian correction. I think I said this before, but it's still true.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really mind for characters like this. I just don't like it when it's just shoved in your face all the time. It doesn't matter if it's like sexuality, it's also like other personality traits, whether, lawfully good or evil. Like, oh, I'm such a murderer. I'm such a masochist, and I'm such a good person. Like if it's just said all the time, it's just in your face. It kind of gets annoying no matter who it is. Um, unless it's done completely for like a tool in the story, where it's like, oh, this person or character rather keeps saying they're a really good person, but then all of a sudden like they're not. Which tends to happen in real life. If someone's constantly telling you, I'm a real good person, I care about you a lot, and they're just saying that over and over again, odds are they're probably not. So keep an eye on them. But yeah,
Why Blackjack is the best anti-heroine.
is that what we're gonna think about? She's an anti-hero.
Yeah.
I see. I see. Well, I like it going. This is also like a bit of a time capsule, as always. Like just looking back at like a lot of the comments at the time, even a lot of the profile pictures haven't even been changed for so long. These are like Pony Curator OC stuff, and even there mentioning like this kind of stuff and like, oh, ministries, no, like why are you doing this and are you doing that? So it's just those things that others have also noticed as well. Um, a lot of discussion here and there. I mean, maybe we might have a couple bonuses here and there, just reading down the comments and seeing what these people were talking about. Let's see. But yeah, bit of two shorter chapters, 5,918 words for chapter 4 perspective, and then 11,403 words for calamity. Again, lots of action, lots of stuff's going on, but the pacing I think could be worked on if I were to rewrite this. Uh, Spacing in the story as well as just some of the combat stuff. I mean, hell, I think you can trim it and just go a little bit more into detail about it. And then being introduced to a stable so early in the story, I don't really mind it because even in the games, you're introduced to other stables rather early. Depending if you can go in there and explore them, I mean, that's up to you and what you have and what your level is. But yeah, even in the original Fallout 1 game, you go into, I think it was stable 15 relatively early in the game. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, decent enough. No huge complaints. Just the usual things that we talked about beforehand.
It's just kind of boring, man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, listening it to the first time, I liked it, but then this is me listening it now to like the third time or so. It's a little boring. It's a little tedious. Because some
I'd rather have
stories,
a story be outright bad than boring.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like some stories, like I can go back and either read or listen to like every so often as a treat for myself because I know it's a good story. But Fallout Equestria Vanilla so far, I mean, these are just one of those stories that I think reading it more than two or three times you start to see a lot more issues, a lot more cracks and this and that, and it can kind of take away from the it kind of takes away from what's going on, and like you kind of start finding like flaws in the story and things of that nature, which isn't a bad thing. Because if you're going to write a Fallout Equestria story, or any story for a matter of fact, it's always good to see things in a second light and notice that, huh, this isn't that good, and I could possibly make it better my way. Because that's all fan fiction is. Do not steal. So, last words, Afterglow?
Uh, golly.
Golly, he says. Well, this has been your host, Enclave. I was joined with my other host, Afterglow. Hopefully, this video finds you well. It's going to be a double whammy, chapter 4 and 5, as well as the ITT re-upload from Art Horse. So I hope you guys enjoy that one too. You guys all have a safe Halloween and enjoy the rest of your day and night or whatever time you listen to this. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.
Man.